Your freelance rate may not be low. It may just be expired like yogurt with a portfolio website. That is the uncomfortable little smell coming from a lot of creator businesses in 2026. You can be booked, busy, answering emails at midnight like a financially stressed lighthouse keeper, and still be earning less usable money than you did before. Not because you got worse, because the cost floor moved while your quote template stayed in a folder named Final Actually Final. This is part one of the Freelancer Price Reset. We are not doing motivational pricing where someone yells know your worth and then disappears before the tax bill arrives. We are doing the boring math with the rude emotional timing. First, we will prove why a frozen rate can turn into a hidden pay cut. Then we will separate personal runway from business costs. And by the end, you will have a simple audit for your next quote before a client accidentally adopts your grocery budget. The official numbers are not subtle. BLS reported that CPI-U rose 0.6% in April 2026 and 3.8% over the prior 12 months. That is the big headline. But freelancers do not live inside the average. You live inside rent, groceries, utilities, transport, insurance, software, and the occasional emergency purchase caused by a laptop deciding it has completed its earthly mission. Inflation matters most when it hits the expenses that do not politely wait for invoices to clear. The energy line is where the spreadsheet starts coughing. BLS said energy rose 17.9% over the 12 months ending April 2026, and gasoline rose 28.4%. If you drive to shoots, client meetings, coworking spaces, family obligations, shipping errands, or anywhere with lighting that does not make you look like an unpaid invoice, that is not abstract. That is your runway getting squeezed by the fuel pump, while your old rate sits there wearing last year's optimism. Now add real earnings. BLS reported real average hourly earnings for all employees fell 0.5% from March to April 2026 because a 0.2% wage increase was outweighed by a 0.6% CPI increase. That is employee data, not freelance data, but the lesson translates beautifully and rudely. Income can rise on paper while buying power falls in real life. Your client may see the same rate and think nothing changed. Your bank account knows the plot twist. A freelancer has an even weirder version of this problem because your rate has to do jobs a salary does not announce. It has to cover the labor. Fine. But it also has to cover unpaid calls, revisions, admin, proposals, taxes, software equipment, sick days, slow months, and the emotional electricity required to reply per my last email without becoming a local legend. If the rate only covers the visible work, the invisible work steals from your future self. This is why the phrase "my rate is still competitive" can be dangerous. Competitive for whom? The client, the market. The freelancer's ability to buy groceries without pretending dinner is a brand collaboration with rice. A rate can be competitive and still financially dishonest. It can win projects while slowly deleting profit. That is the freelance trap. You can mistake demand for health. People saying yes to your price does not prove the price is working for your business. Let's build the first number, the personal floor. This is not your dream life budget. This is the monthly cost of not becoming a cautionary spreadsheet. Rent or mortgage, food, utilities, transport, insurance, minimum debt payments, basic family obligations, medicine. The software or phone plan that keeps client work possible. If your personal floor changed and your rate did not, you did not hold the line. You let the line move through your budget with a calculator. Now divide that floor by realistic billable time, not fantasy billable time. Fantasy billable time assumes every weekday is paid client work, and nobody asks for a meeting that could have been a nap. Real billable time subtracts admin, marketing, edits, bookkeeping, learning, outreach, revisions, illness, and the week where every client says circling back like a threat. If you price using fantasy hours, your rate looks calm because reality has been hidden in the closet. Suppose your bare personal floor is $4,000 a month. Suppose you can realistically bill 80 hours, not 160. Before taxes, tools, or profit, that is already $50 an hour just to keep the lights on. That is not your final rate. That is the floor under the floor. If your quote is lower than the survival math, the client is not getting a discount. They are getting a tiny loan from your rent money. Then comes the tax buffer. Freelancers know taxes exist intellectually, and then a payment arrives and the math gets very personal. Your rate has to reserve money before you emotionally bond with the gross payment. If a client pays $1,000, that is not $1,000 of freedom. It is $1,000 entering a small committee where taxes get a chair, business costs get a chair, and your actual take-home sits in the corner asking if there are snacks. Then business costs, website hosting, editing software, design tools, camera batteries, courses, contract templates, insurance, bookkeeping help, cloud storage, payment processing fees, the subscription landfill with icons you keep promising to cancel after this project. These are not personal luxuries, they are the cost of delivery. If the client fee does not pay for them, your personal money pays for them, which is how a business slowly disguises itself as an expensive hobby. The first major reversal is this: a rate reset is not greed, it is maintenance. You update software when it breaks. You replace tires when they wear down. You should update pricing when the cost floor changes. The weird part is freelancers treat price changes like moral confessions. Please forgive me, dear client, for noticing electricity. No, the invoice is a business document, not a guilt diary. If your costs change, the model changed. That does not mean you send every client a dramatic 3-page manifesto called Inflation Ate My Confidence. Please do not. The reset starts quietly. Audit the work. List the deliverables, list the time, list the admin, list the revision risk, list the direct costs, then compare the actual take-home to the personal floor and the profit you need. If the number fails, you have evidence. Evidence is useful because it speaks when your people-pleasing voice starts whispering. Maybe just charge the old price. The next curiosity beat is the client who loves your old rate. Of course they do. Your old rate is a cozy little time capsule from a cheaper cost floor. It may be attached to trust, familiarity, and a relationship you value. But loyalty cannot require you to subsidize the project. A good client can handle clear, updated terms. A bad client treats your margin like a public park. The reset helps you learn which one is which. Try this framing. My 2026 project pricing now reflects current production costs, turnaround, and revision limits. That sentence is boring on purpose. Boring is strong. It does not apologize. It does not explain your grocery bill. It keeps the conversation on the work. If they ask why, you can mention updated operating costs, availability, and scope control. You do not need to bring a slideshow of gasoline receipts unless the client has chosen chaos. For new clients, stop quoting from memory. Memory is where old rates go to pretend they are still responsible adults. Use a quote floor, personal floor divided by real billable hours, add tax buffer, add direct costs, add admin and revision time, add profit. Then add payment terms so you are not financing the project like a tiny stressed bank with a Canva account. This turns pricing from a panic guess into a repeatable decision. Payment timing matters because irregular income makes every cost spike louder. A salaried worker may feel inflation as squeeze. A freelancer feels it as timing risk. The rent is due monthly. The grocery store wants money immediately. The fuel pump is not impressed by your client saying accounts payable is processing. That is why deposits and milestones are not just professionalism. They are anti-chaos devices. A rate reset without payment terms is only half a seatbelt. This is the mid-script trap. Do not reset only the headline rate. If you raise the price but leave unlimited revisions, vague scope, and payment on completion, the new rate can still leak. The client may accept the higher number and then quietly stretch the project like warm cheese. The reset has to include boundaries. What is included? What costs extra? When is payment due? How many revisions? What happens when the timeline changes because someone discovered opinions on Friday? Now make the audit practical. Pull your last 5 projects. For each one, write the client price, hours worked, direct costs, unpaid admin, revisions, payment delay, and actual take-home after tax reserve. Then mark the project green, yellow, or red. Green means profitable and sane. Yellow means profitable but annoying. Red means the project stole snacks from your future. Your next rate should be built from the reds, not from the one fantasy project that behaved like an adult. The second reversal, some rates should not be raised. Some should be retired. If a service is low margin, high revision, low trust, and paid late, adding 20% may not fix it. You may need a minimum package, a different scope, or the courage to stop offering it to bargain hunters with urgent energy. The goal is not to squeeze every client. The goal is to stop selling work that eats the business from inside the invoice. For creators, this might mean turning one-off edits into edit packages, turning random design requests into monthly creative support, turning urgent consulting calls into paid audits, turning endless content batches into a defined sprint. Packages let you control scope, timing, and margin. They also make the client compare outcomes instead of trying to turn your hourly rate into a grocery negotiation. The old rate often survives because the old offer is too loose. Here is the script for the next quote. Based on the scope, timeline, and included revisions, the project fee is this amount. It includes these deliverables, these checkpoints, and this number of revision rounds. Work begins with this deposit, the next payment is due at this milestone, and extra scope is quoted separately. Beautiful, dry, slightly allergic to chaos. That is what a rate reset sounds like when it grows up and starts drinking water. What if a client says that is too expensive? Sometimes it is. Not every client is your client, but now you can adjust intelligently, reduce scope, extend timeline, remove deliverables, lower revision rounds, split phases. What you should not do is quietly keep the full work and delete your margin because conflict makes your shoulders tense. The correct response to budget pressure is scope design, not self-sabotage with an invoice number. If the reset still feels abstract, look at your smallest recurring client. The one that feels easy because the work is familiar. Familiar work is where stale pricing hides best. You know the workflow, so you stop noticing the little costs. The extra message, the quick export, the 30 minutes of file cleanup, the software seat, the call that was supposed to be 15 minutes but developed a personality. A rate audit should start with easy clients because easy can become expensive quietly. Track the full month, not the remembered task. Count every handoff, every export, every client clarification, every upload, and every payment delay. The tiny recurring job may reveal the real price of comfort. Track the full month, not the remembered task. Count every handoff, every export, every client clarification, every upload, and every payment delay. The tiny recurring job may reveal the real price of comfort, because comfort is where underpricing learns to move quietly. Then look at your highest stress client. Not because you need drama, but because stress is usually a pricing signal wearing a fake mustache. If the client needs rush delivery, vague strategy, many stakeholders, late feedback, and emergency revisions, the rate has to reflect the operational risk. Otherwise, you are charging for a normal project while running a tiny crisis department. Crisis departments are allowed to cost money. Even yours, with the questionable chair and the emergency snack drawer. Rush work also blocks other work, pushes family time, and makes mistakes pricier. If a client buys speed, they are buying calendar priority, not just faster typing, so the rate has to protect the work you moved aside. Now separate raise from reset. A raise says the same service costs more. A reset says the service is being rebuilt around the real cost floor. That might mean fewer deliverables, clearer timelines, deposits, packages, revision caps, or a new minimum. The reset is bigger than one number because the problem is bigger than one number. If you only raise the rate while keeping the old chaos, the extra money may get swallowed before it becomes safety. A reset changes the shape of the offer, so the new price has a container strong enough to hold it. Without that container, the extra money goes toward absorbing the same old confusion with a nicer invoice number. The emotional obstacle is the client voice in your head. They will leave. They will think I am greedy. They will find someone cheaper, maybe, some will. But a business cannot be built around keeping every client who depends on your underpricing. A client leaving after a responsible reset may hurt, but a client staying at a rate that damages your life is not a victory. That is a slow-motion coupon with your nervous system attached. A rate that only works when nobody says no is not strategy. It is fear wearing an invoice number. The reset gives you a price you can say out loud without secretly hoping the client never asks a follow-up question. A good reset gives options without surrendering margin. If the new full package is outside budget, offer a smaller scope. If they need speed, charge rush pricing or move the timeline. If they need more revisions, add a revision block. If they need ongoing support, build a retainer. The key is trade-offs. Price conversations become healthier when every discount removes something, delays something, or narrows something. Otherwise, discount means the freelancer pays the difference in exhaustion. Trade-offs also make you easier to hire because clients can see the menu of decisions instead of guessing where the money went. The point is not to punish smaller budgets. The point is to stop pretending every budget can buy the full version. This is also why copying another creator's rate can mislead you. Their rent may be different. Their taxes may be different. Their tools, debt, health costs, client base, speed, reputation, and household responsibilities may be different. The internet loves clean price lists because they feel like certainty. But a rate is not a costume you borrow. It is a machine built around your cost floor, your delivery system, and your risk. Steel structure, not numbers. The reset should also protect your confidence. When you can explain the number to yourself, you stop negotiating from fog. You know the floor, you know the tax buffer, you know the cost of delivery, you know the payment terms. That does not make every conversation easy because humans invented awkward silence and then added invoices. But it changes your posture. You are no longer begging a client to validate your worth. You are presenting the cost of a working business. If you only take one action today, make a stale rate list. Write down every service package and recurring client price that has not changed since before the latest cost shift. Next to each one, write keep, reset, package, or retire. Keep means it works. Reset means update the price and terms. Package means rebuild the offer. Retire means the service is eating your business while pretending to be opportunity. That list becomes the map. Then pick one low-risk update. Not the scariest client, not the biggest existential spreadsheet disaster. One new quote, one package page, one deposit term, one revision limit. Small changes build pricing muscle without requiring a personality transplant. Freelancers often wait until the pain is unbearable, then try to fix everything in one dramatic afternoon. The better move is boring repetition. One cleaner quote at a time until the business stops subsidizing the old rate. This is where the episode pays off. Your old rate was not wrong because you were foolish. It was built for an older cost floor. CPI moved, energy moved, gasoline moved. Real earnings showed how buying power can fall even when nominal pay rises. Your freelance business has to respond like a business, not like a guilt machine wearing headphones. The reset is not a dramatic reinvention. It is maintenance with a calculator and slightly better boundaries. Before your next quote, do the 4-line audit. What is my current personal floor? How many hours can I really bill? What tax and business costs must this price carry? What payment terms protect the timing risk? If the old rate fails those questions, it is expired. Part 2 follows the money inside the project itself, because the next rude discovery is that your rate is not your profit. A $1,000 project is about to invite taxes, tools, revisions, and denial to a group chat. That next episode matters because profit leakage is where many freelancers discover the old rate was doing two kinds of damage at once. Shrinking buying power and hiding project costs until the invoice looked successful, but the business still felt hungry.